Hello everybody, hope y'all are doing well. Ian Lee here with another episode of Jazz and Western Swing Violin 101. This is the second episode in this series, and it could go on indefinitely. There's a lot of 101, 101 referring to essentially just essentials, basics. And so there's a lot of things that we kind of need to constantly review and go over, so we'll see how that all goes. But for now, I'm going to stick with this before veering off too much. So last week I talked about major 7 chords and where we derive them from, and how we get them out of the major scale, kind of what they are, where we tend to see them. And I figured today we could continue that subject of major 7 chords, but talk about their shape on the violin. Because we play a string instrument, we get this wonderful thing of shapes. So we get these consistent patterns. So even if you don't know all the notes, for example, even though you should work on knowing the notes that are in those chords, knowing the numbers that are attached to those chords, and those notes within that chord, at least in the moment, you can always just grab a shape and play off of that, and it's a really wonderful thing that we should utilize 100%. So today I wanted to go over all the shapes that we can use to play major 7 arpeggios or major 7 chords, because we can't play a full chord on the violin, right? We have to spell it out. So let's start with the D major, which is what we did last week, and I call it the open string shape. Why? Because we're starting with an open string. So we have D, F sharp, A, C sharp. And that's 1, 3, 5, 7. Because you're playing the first scale degree of D major, the third scale degree of D major, the 5th scale degree, and the 7th scale degree. So 1, 3, 5, 7. And that's just how, most chords, your basic triads are spelled out 1, 3, 5. Or 1 flat 3 5, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can throw in like the 7 or the 6, or all the little pretty extensions that we get, which are just colors. They're just little extra sounds. Nothing that needs to be overly complicated. So the great thing about that shape is that it's transferable. So for example, if I use the exact same fingerings, open, high 2, open, high 2, I can do it on an A string too, and the G string. It's really great stuff, huh? So out of one shape, you get, essentially 3 different chords, right? 3 different major 7 chords. There's only 12 major 7 chords you can play because there's only 12 notes in our Western tonal center, right? So now you've already got you're already a fourth of the way there, okay? So let's start with the next shape. I call this the first finger shape. Why? Because we start the chord with our first finger. So the root of the chord is on our first finger. So we're playing these all from root position. We're not doing any inversions here where we're starting with the 3rd in the bass or the 5th or the 7th, or anything. Doing all this in root position. So let's do this off of an A major 7. So we'll play A on our G string there, and then we'll go 1, we'll do 3 or C sharp, and then E or the 5th, and then G or G sharp. Okay, and that gives us ba-da-da-da. That's a major 7 shape right there. So we have 1. See that? Now again, that's a transferable shape. And that one's even more movable or mobile than the open string shape, because the open string shape relies on our open strings, whereas this one, because it's closed, as in it doesn't require any open strings, I can play it here. I can go up into 3rd position for G and play it up there. It'd be nice if I played it in tune. There we go. I can play it in B flat down here. And it's still a major 7 chord, because I know that my first finger is the root of the chord anywhere I move that, if I want to start in D flat. So I just played a D flat major 7, right? This is good stuff. This is really good stuff. Knowing these chord shapes is a really great gateway into improvisation and improvisational ideas, because we can play around with these shapes. You don't just have to play them directly. You can move into them and weave kind of around them. You could, if I start on A, I could, I kind of just like played into and around that shape. Just all these little ideas you can get. But you have to start by knowing these things first before we get into that. Let's do the second finger shape. And we'll do that with, we'll do it a couple of ways, because there's a couple things here on the violin that we run into with that. So if we start on F here, on the D string. So F, open A, then C, and then open E. I'd probably play the E with a pinky though. Right, ba-da-da-da. Again, it's movable across the string sets. What is a string set? Really quick. We have G and D, that's a string set. D and A is a string set, and E is a string set. So anything that has a string set attached to it, which everything does, you're gonna be able to move it across that depending on what you need. It'll change the key of it and the function of it, but you can move the shape across the string sets. So if we go to, over here, we'll start on this C note on our A string. So we go C, E, G, B major. Or not B major, but B natural. Now we have a C major 7. Same thing with the B flat. Okay, nice. Okay, so from there we get another shape with the second finger that doesn't involve open strings. And so if we start on this B, it's a reach. That's why I don't really do this one a ton, but it's there. It's kind of a big stretch. So you have B, D sharp, reach with your fourth finger, and then F sharp, which is on the next string over. Or you like that, right? It's the same. It's as if I was playing it 1-3-1-3, but you're just, it's the same, the flow of it is the same, you're just using a different fingering. So it's just a bigger stretch because we get more mileage out of these guys than these guys. So anyways, it's another movable shape. It's not something I use a ton, but you can use it. Just depends on where you're at and how much you practice. The next thing we can do is a shape based off of our third finger as the root. Let's do C major 7. So we'll start with our third finger here, and then first finger on the E note, or the third of the chord, G note, or the fifth of the chord, B note, or the major 7th. So it looks like this. 3-1, 3-1. And I'm referring to fingers, not chord tones. Okay. 3-1, 3-1, or 1-3-5-7. And again, it's all movable. So I could take that shape and what I just did there. I just made that a G major 7 by just taking the shape and starting on G instead of C. Or I could go play an A note. Play in tune though. All right, I think there's one more. There is one more. There's one where we can start with our pinky, right? So we always have, anytime you're moving anything through keys, on the violin at least, let's say you're just playing a little lick, or these major 7 things, you can play them through multiple keys in lots of ways. I could play everything in one key using one shape if I wanted to. But it's good to know all these shapes so that you can even stay in first position, for example, which we do a lot in jazz and Western Swing Violin. We'll move up into third and second, sure. But, we're going if you can learn how to play all these things in first position, just using the different shapes, it's very convenient. So another shape we can use is with our pinky, like I was just saying. We can go. Oh, that was a dominant 7. We're not there yet. So it's got the same flow actually as the shape with the third finger. It's got one note and then 2 notes and then 1. I'll pluck it so it's a little easier to see. That's with third finger, fourth finger. Good thing to know, so that way you can play like D flat major 7 or A flat, right? Good stuff. So those are your major 7 shapes on the violin. Have fun exploring those. Maybe next week we'll maybe stick with this major 7 theme for a little bit, and I'll introduce an exercise that you can do to work these shapes in first position and kind of run through them all. All right, happy practicing.